Hello everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Strompfel, I'm your coach for the Mt Silver Mences, and for week number 3 of the PCBL, the Mt Silver Mences are going up against the Azure Bay Air Cutters and their coach, Tangela Boots. Oh boy, it is time to face off against my man Troy, aka Tangela Boots, the commissioner for the league. I'm saying the commissioner even though it's like a shared thing between the admins. Troy is basically the one who's doing all the background work for the PCBL. We're talking like calculating out stats, calculating out kills and deaths, updating a website. We're dealing with a ton of stuff right now that Troy's actually put on his shoulders, just carrying the league all around. So Troy, absolutely amazing guy, and I've known him for like a year now. Pretty much one of my best friends in the Pokemon community. He's such a nice guy, and he's an incredible battler. He's probably the best battler that I know personally. I know there are like a bunch of other talented players out there that I have not interacted with, but Troy is up there for the best players that I have interacted with. So this is going to be one hell of a battle. We have battles like 3 or 4 times before. All of those were insanely close matches, and I do think that Troy is one of the guys who actually can bring like the best out of me. I usually go super try hard when I try to build for this guy because I really want to beat him. Beating Troy or beating Tangela Boots, however you want to refer to him, is like it's like a goal. It's like a goal to everyone who knows Tangela Boots, because you know he's so good. So if you can beat him, that's really just putting you up there like with the very best of us. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing Tangela Boots. It usually ends with great matches, so this will be no exceptions. But without further ado, let's go right into the matchup and see what my man Troy has actually drafted. So, looking at the team that the Azure Bay Air Cutters has constructed, we can see that they have a roster consisting of the Megadiancy, Latia, Scizor, Shaman, Tentacruel, Mamoswine, Rotom, Entei, Miltank, Ninjas, Passimian, and the Frogadier. So all around a very good roster, and it's also, if you know Troy, a very like Troy roster. If you don't know Troy, I'll just quickly explain that Troy likes to have these bulkier kind of drafts and kind of rely on 1 or 2 win cons on his entire team that can actually sweep up a team. Which is why he loves the Pokemon Scizor. Scizor is a very good Pokemon because, you know, it's bulky, it can Sword Dance, and then it can sweep a team. And I know that he loves this Pokemon. I've seen Troy draft like 1,000,000 times at this point, and he drafts Scizor at every single time because Scizor just fits his playstyle amazingly well. You can see that he has a Mega Diancie, which is kind of sad because, you know, I kind of wanted Mega Diancie and go with it again. If you know me, that you know that Mega Diancie is like one of my favorite Megas of all time. I love using the thing. I know how powerful it is, and seeing being used by someone else is very terrifying, and especially to see it being used by Troy, because, you know, I can't stress this point enough. Troy is an amazing battler and he can use Pokemon to their fullest potential. So Mega Diancie will be an absolutely enormous threat against my team, especially since you look at my roster. I've kind of mentioned before that I have a problem with rock types, and Mega Diancie is like a top tier rock type, and yeah, I need to construct some way to deal with a Mega Diancie, some creative way that is, because I don't have a clear counter to it. So that'll be fun. Yeah, Mega Diancie, totally busted. He does have like this tendency to draft teams which is very good synergetically wise, and I think I butchered that pronunciation, but the synergy between the Pokemon are amazing, and that's usually what Troy goes for when he drafts. He has a bunch of like defensive switches. He has very good offensive synergy between like Mega Diancie, Scizor, and then the Mamoswine and the Entei to break down those steel types, clearing the way for Scizor and Diancie. So he has a very good synergy at his team. But some points that I want to point out is the fact that his team is rather slow. He does have a Ninjask at base 160, outspeeding my Aerodactyl. I never thought I would say that, but he has a Ninjask, but then he drops down all the way to base 110, and then he goes all the way to base 100. So his speed tiers are kind of weird in my opinion, which means that I can probably take advantage of this, because my speed tiers all over the place. They are literally between 150 and then they kind of ladder down all the way to something like 85, which my Tapu Fini is. So I can definitely use my speed tier to my advantage in this scenario. Also, the fact that I do have some very offensive Pokemon, which I do think that he lacks switchings to, like Volcarona. Volcarona is amazing, and I'm kind of going back to the speed tiers, but he has a hard time revenge killing Volcarona if he gets the +1. However, as I said before, he has so good defensive synergy that I need to run a fuck ton of coverage moves in order to deal with everything. So I kind of have to create my team around like 1 or 2 set of sweepers, and then kind of creates a team that deals with the Pokemon that I couldn't fit coverage on, which is kind of going to be my strategy going into the battle. I need to find some set that I think is very good at sweeping, and then I'm going to create a team that kind of helps that Pokemon to sweep. Let's say I don't have a coverage moves for the Shaymin, well then pretty much 5 out of 6 Pokemon on my team is going to deal with the Shaymin in some way, so my 6 Pokemon can come in, set up in that sweep. That's going to be my general game plan going into the battle, but I don't know how I'll create this because he has so many Pokemon that can like deal with me and can just wall me and sweep me, and I just need to create something for everything. Unfortunately, Megarodactyl was like really good in this battle, but I couldn't bring it just because of the fact that he has so much priority, which is super effective. Scissors, Bullet Punch, and the Mammoth Swine's Eye Shard. And this is the thing with Troy as well. I know I'm kind of dragging out the matchup part, but Troy he's a good builder, but sometimes he likes to bring Pokemon just because they feel good to him. Stuff like Scizor in this matchup. Scizor is very bad in my opinion. Doesn't deal with the Volcarona and Cobalion and the Thundurus and the Reuniclus and Tapu Fini and the Mungus at the same time. He can't deal with everything at one time. So I don't think he will bring it, but at the same time it's Scizor. Scizor is like Troy's favorite Pokemon, which means that he can actually find a way to bring it, which means that I have to prepare for it, even though I don't think it's coming. And that feeling is very frustrating in my opinion, but I think I've rambled on for quite a long time. General game plan, create a setup sweeper, and then try and support that sweeper. So without further ado, let's go right into the team that I decided to bring for week 3 versus Tangela Boots. So the first Pokemon that we are bringing, hopefully the WinCon versus Tangela Boots, will be this bulky Volcarona set. Nice and bossy coming in for week 3, trying to Quiver-Dance up and just smack his entire team. That is at least the plan. We do have the Quiver-Dance, Roost, Hidden Power Ground, and the Flamethrower as our moves, with the leftovers to regain some health, to hopefully set up not once but actually twice with the Quiver-Dance, which might seem a little bit difficult, but I do think it actually will work out against some Pokemon on his team. I do have the Flamethrower as my main stab option. It hits pretty much everything. I'm not going to say everything because really it just doesn't hit some Pokemon like the Entei, Tentacruel, Latias, and the Mega DNC, but Hidden Power Ground covers 3 of those 4 Pokemon, and this is kind of what I mentioned in the team builder, or the matchup, being that I can't hit everything, especially since I do need to carry a Roost on this Pokemon. And you might be questioning yourself, why do you need to carry a Roost? You can just slap on the Bug Buzz and you'll be fine. But this is actually the Pokemon, if Scizor ends up coming, which I don't expect it to come, but if it ends up coming, then I need to have Volcarona as my Scizor switch-in, and switching in on a Scizor multiple times will be a bit difficult, so just weakening my WinCon will be no bueno, so I needed to have the Roost to regain some health on the Scizor's Bullet Punches and U-turns and stuff like that, because, you know, losing Volcarona might just lose me the game. So all around, this Pokemon is very good. I hopefully can Quiver-Dance once or twice, Roost off the damage, and then just Flamethrower his entire team. Next up is a Pokemon that will accompany Volcarona quite nicely, and is actually step 1 in my game plan of sweeping with the Volcarona, and that will be MVP the Reuniclus, rocking a specially defensive set this weekend. I am dead serious when I say that if I did not have Reuniclus on my team, I might have just been 6-0 that team matchup. Holy hell, this Pokemon is so important this battle. This is actually going to be my Mega Diancie switching, my Latias switching, my Shaymin switching, Tentacle switching, even my Rotom switching, and my Miltank switching, and even like Passimian and Frogadier switching. It pretty much switches in off half of his team, which is insane. One Pokemon can just check pretty much half a team. And this is why I drafted this thing. I think it's absolutely amazing. But Reuniclus' main importance in this battle will be to check the Mega Diancie. Looking at my draft, I have nothing for Mega Diancie, so I do need to bring this set. And of course I do have the Magikarp instead of the Assault Vest, which I usually run with specially defensive Reuniclus. But the reason I have Magikarp is the fact that I do want to run a status move in the Toxic, because if it does not bring the Scizor, the main switch-in for a Reuniclus on his team will actually be the Latias. Because, you know, if I'm Calm Mind, then he needs to switch in the Latias to try and deter the setup, which means that I can actually Toxic the Latias, and if I Toxic the Latias, then Volcarona can all of a sudden deal with this Pokemon. I can Quiver-Dance, I can Roost, I can pretty much Flamethrower it, wear it down with the Toxic, which will be step 1 in Volcarona beating his entire team. is actually to Toxic the Latias. I do have the Hidden Power Fire in the Psyshock, even though I don't think the Scissor is coming. I need to slap on the HP Fire in case the Scissor is actually the Runiclus switch. And if it is, I can scare it out once with Hidden Power Fire, and then I can Toxic the Latias. Kind of the game plan. Psyshock is, of course, to smack his entire team and then recover to actually regain pretty much all of my health. I need to keep this Pokemon healthy. If I do that, I have a very good shot at winning, or at least a very good shot at not losing straight up to one of his very, very offensive Pokemon. Next up, we got ourselves another Pokemon, which is very important for the matchup, which is Tapu Oskis, the Tapu Fini, since you know my main win con is the Volcarona, and Volcarona needs the defogging support. But Tapu Fini is also very important in the matchup, because you know he has an Entei and he has a Mamoswine, and I have no switch-ins, barring this thing. And Mamoswine is actually so strong that it actually forced me to run Protect on the Tapu Fini, because otherwise Adamant Life or Mamoswine would actually 2-hit KO my Tapu Fini, which is horseshit, so I do need to run the Protect in order to not get 2-hit KO'd. So I do have the Defog, the Surf and Nature's Madness. I decided to have Surf over the Moonblast, mainly due to the fact that this is going to be my Mamoswine and my Entei switch-in, so I do need to deal with him some way, so I thought the Surf would be appropriate. Do have the Leftovers, of course. Leftovers with the Protect is really nice, and main job for Tapu Fini is to switch in on some physical attacks, and pretty much just defog. If I don't have rocks up, then my Volcarona has a very good chance of sweeping in. If rocks are up, then that might be very difficult. Next up, we got ourselves a new member for the Mt Silver Mences, or at least the first time it's coming off the bench, which is actually going to be Persian Alola form. My boy Rebragus, aka Nico, the Mt Silver Mences cheerleader. I love you, bro. This one is for you. Just kidding, but yeah, Nico, aka Rebragus, he's in love with those cats. I do think he has like 4 of them, so I thought it would be appropriate to nickname a cat after him. And even though Nico loves his cats, I do hope that this will be one cat that Troy, on the other hand, hates, because Persian Alola actually has quite a decent matchup against his team. If you look at it, it doesn't have the best Dark Resist. He does only actually have 1 Dark Resist now that I look at it. No, he has 2, Passimian and Mega Diancie, but I do not expect Passimian to come, so there's only Mega Diancie, and our moveset is actually quite decent versus that, because we do have the Foul Play, we do have the Party Shot, Taunt, and the Hidden Power Steel with a Darkinium Sea. And Hidden Power Steel is, of course, for that Mega Diancie. I do think that Troy will see this tech coming, but I couldn't really pass up on it. Even though I do think he's going to predict it, it's just way too good to not have. And I didn't really need a 4th move slot on there. I could have had Knockoff, but I didn't want Mega Diancie to get a free switch in every time Persian Alola come in. So Foul Play into Hidden Power Steel will actually pick up the KO. But Persian Alola, it serves like 2 purposes. It is a like pivoting Pokemon with a Parting Shot. You know, I can just come in, take 1 attack with my Fur Coat, Parting Shot out, and then go into another Pokemon to heal up. I can also go for the Foul Play, actually do quite a bit of damage, because his bulky Pokemon such as Tentacruel and Shaman does have quite high attack stats, so I can actually do some damage. And of course, Dark EMC with a Parting Shot will heal up one of my Pokemon to full, and I'm mainly thinking that I will do that to Tapu Fini later down the road if I have taken like a bunch of Mamoswine's Earthquake and Sacred Fires and just all over the place. So I do think that having the ability to heal up my Tapu Fini mid to late game will be very important, so I do think that Nico, aka Rebragus, aka Persian Alola, will do very good in this matchup. Next up, we got ourselves a very classic Pokemon coming back. Nice and Choice Scarf Thundurus, you know, coming all the way back from week number 1, which is actually just 2 weeks ago, but I do think Choice Scarf Thundurus is very valuable in this matchup. I have actually started to really like this Pokemon. I do think it's very cool. You know, the coverage, the speed tier, and the insane special attack stat, which goes to show in this battle I actually can run the Modest Nature, since I only want to outspeed the Mamoswine. So yeah, this Thundurus is going to be awesome. I do have the U-Turn, the Thunderbolt, the Grass Knot, and the Dark Pulse. So the main objective here is, of course, to pivot, and pivot, and pivot, and pivot, and it's, as long as I've worn down the Mamoswine, I can start clicking Thunderbolt, and those Thunderbolts are going to hurt, man. I know he has like something like a Latias and the Shaman, but those actually take quite a chunk from the Thunderbolt. You can always U-turn on them if I predict correctly, or if I want to predict the Mamoswine mid-game, I can always Grass Knot that and take that shit out. But I do have the Dark Pulse as my last move. I didn't really need a last move, but I did think that Rotom, the Rotom base form, was quite annoying to my drop, so I decided to slap on the Dark Pulse. Of course, Dark Pulse hits the the regular Latias, not a Mega Latias. Let's calm ourselves here, but it hits the Latias, it hits the Rotom, so I thought that would be the best move to slap on there. But all around this Pokemon, it's going to come in, it's going to outspeed, it's going to stink something with a Thunderbolt, or U-turn out. That's mainly the name of the game for my Thunder. So, moving on to the last Pokemon, which will be this Shukaberry Cobalion set, rocking the Stealth Turks Close Combat, Ironhead, and the Toxic. So yet another Pokemon that does have the Toxic in order to try and lure in the Latias, and Toxic it, which makes my Volcarona win versus it 1v1 in the late game. So the main objective for this Cobalion is of course to either lure in a Pokemon with my Shukaberry, let's say the Mega Diancie tries to be a little bit wild and stay in, goes for an Earth Power, I can tank that Ironhead and that thing will get thrown out the window. We do also have something like an Earthquaking Mamoswine, Earth Powering Shaman, that's the correct sentence, and maybe like a Earthquaking Miltank, I don't know, but something that tries to hit me with a ground type move. I thought that would be better over the Shovelberry. So ground type attacks, I will be able to take one and dish out a ton of damage. Even though I do tend to defog most of the times because, you know, Volcarona is my win con, I still have the Stealth Turks on this Pokemon, because if I find myself in a situation where I can set up Stealth Turks kind of freely and then die, Volcarona might be able to come in and the little bit of chip damage might put a Solfus Entei in range or something like that. Because, you know, this Pokemon actually beats both of his two Stealth Rockers, being the Miltank and the Mamoswine 1v1, so I do feel kind of nice about that. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap up the team for this time. You can always leave any feedback or thoughts about the Pokemon that I decided to bring, or the Pokemon that I decided to drop. But tomorrow is the big day where we get to face off against my man Troy, aka Tangleboots. It will be a wild ride. I hope everyone is excited about that. I sure am. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Tune in for the battle tomorrow, and I hope you have a really, really good day. Goodbye.